Authorities in some regions of China have banned residents from burning coal used to heat their homes in the winter. They say the measure is to guarantee a clear blue sky for the Winter Olympics. They've offered some alternatives, but many prove too expensive for the majority of households, meaning a hard winter is coming for many.
The Chinese Communist regime is announcing a new rule, one that may make the coming winter a brutal one for some residents. Northern China's Hebei province, which surrounds Beijing, is gearing up for the Winter Olympic Games in February. To ensure Beijing sees a blue sky for the event, authorities in the surrounding Hebei area are banning people from burning coal in their houses. Instead, residents have been ordered to heat their homes for the winter using gas or electricity. But those energy sources are often too expensive for working-class residents to afford. In an interview with the Epoch Times, resident Mr. Wang gave his take. He believes the primary reason for the struggle locals are now facing is the gap between high expenses and low income.
Some senior citizens cannot afford winter heating without support from their children. How can seniors get money? Like us, we don't have retirement pensions, and those seniors don't have savings. The coal ban will definitely affect their winter heating.
The local temperature has already dropped to 47 degrees Fahrenheit, and much more severe cold weather is yet to come. But authorities don't seem to be paying any mind. In one case, they even smashed one resident's stove to make sure the family abides by the new regulation.
They don't allow people to use coal, so nobody can use that. If you do, the grassroots officials, no matter if they're from the village or community level, they will come find you. They'll even send police forces to stop you from using coal.
Professor and Vice President of Taiwan Foundation for Democracy, Jian Fa-yen, also commented on the situation, saying that the Chinese regime is playing the so-called national crisis card and sacrificing the well-being of the Chinese people to save face. But he says that cycle can't go on indefinitely.
When at the end of the day people find their basic needs like food, shelter, and heating are jeopardized, they won't believe in you anymore.
He also adds that China's major issues are caused by the lack of a counterweight, explaining that everything the regime does single-mindedly moves in one direction, without any action to balance it out. It's a situation he describes as a dangerous one.
A Chinese survey ship has been accused of unauthorized activities in Palau's Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. Palau is an island nation in the Western Pacific near the Philippines. The vessel involved is one of China's most capable ocean resource survey ships. It's estimated that the survey has to do with studying undersea resources or a seabed mapping mission. It could be collecting specific data for dual civilian and military use, but in either case, the vessel needs permission from Palau. The presence of the vessel worries Palau. Despite Palau's strategic location, it doesn't have any armed forces. It relies on the U.S. for protection. According to its local media, Palau's maritime security has been tracking the vessel, but unable to act. And the vessel left after 5 days in Palau's waters from November 29th to December 4th. A geointelligence analyst who studied the ship says the ship's path shows it clearly entered Palau's EEZ. And the way it moved suggests that it was doing a seafloor survey. The ship likely followed a major underwater ridge in the region. And this type of data gathered can be very useful in undersea warfare, especially for submarines. Reports say that the same Chinese survey ship has operated in the EEZ of Brunei, Malaysia, and the Philippines in September. The ship left after Malaysia protested for 2 weeks.
The student newspaper at Yale University has a policy of not publishing anonymous columns. But in this case, the Ivy League school made an exception. Over the weekend, a powerful essay about Chinese tennis star彭帥appeared in the Yale Daily News. Peng went missing after publicly accusing a former senior Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, official of sexual assault. The Yale newspaper had to publish the column anonymously. That's because the author of this piece is a Chinese student at Yale with family in China. The newspaper has granted the student special permission and says the student, quote, might be harmed by the piece being published with the author's name. In the article, the Yale student voiced strong concerns for Peng's safety and called on the international community not to allow her to be buried and forgotten as the CCP planned. The editor-in-chief of Yale Daily News, Rose Horowitz, tells Voice of America that the decision was not made lightly. She says it was based on sufficient evidence that Beijing has been using advanced softwares to track and silence overseas critics. One of their top targets is Chinese students studying abroad.
It's the focus of many people's worst nightmares, hidden spy cameras peering at unsuspecting, unknowing participants and secretly recording them. According to an investigative report by Chinese media Legal Daily, that's exactly what's happening inside China. It says hidden cameras are prevalent throughout the country and that people's private information is being collected and sold at low cost. Spy camera use has reportedly become more sophisticated owing to a long history as an underground industry inside the country. Video and images are covertly captured in places like public restrooms, hotels, and airplanes. Some also target specific groups like students, influencers, and those who live stream content online. The report alleges that some of these secretly taken images even specially zoom in on a subject's private area. The tools needed for this kind of surveillance are unnervingly easy and cheap to obtain. Many spy cameras of all different kinds are sold through online platforms. Those sellers will often disguise cameras as something else, making them appear as electronic keys, lighters, eyeglasses, power banks, razors, clocks, or calendars. And those are just a few examples. Some of the cameras also boast long standby times, meaning they can be placed in advance and actively wait for a target to appear in frame. Others can be used to view live footage remotely. These with advanced functions are reportedly sold for around $300. Cell phones can also be modified into a spy camera, with a price tag for that transformation sitting just around $20. Some phone apps have also been found to capture pictures and videos silently in the back end, even when the device is locked. That's not all. The report also highlights how some home security cameras may not be so secure anymore. Hackers can now hack into these cameras and use them for their own monitoring purposes. The report blames these crimes on the temptation of easy profit, coupled with weak regulation. Reporters found that in group chats related to these underground activities, these pictures and videos are often labeled with price tags. They're usually cheap, but can be sold again and again for more profit. In one case from the Strewn, it was revealed that a single spy camera can generate 100 remote viewer invitations, meaning the seller can collect payment from 100 people simultaneously. But even that isn't enough for some of these criminal photographers. Some take still another shortcut to boost profit. According to Chinese media analysis, around 30% of those capturing their surveillance data choose to blackmail their victims using the collected images. Secretly capturing images of an unsuspecting person, including with the use of spy cameras, is illegal under Communist Chinese law. But the punishment doesn't back much of a punch. The law says the offense carries a maximum fine of less than $80 plus a 10-day detention period. A related case from this March made headlines in southeastern China. In the city of Xiamen, a man was found to have hacked into over 40 devices that linked to over 230 cameras. Taking control of the cameras, he used them to spy on victims' private activity. Once he was confirmed guilty, he received a 6-month prison sentence and a $470 fine. Speaking to the Epoch Times, a Japan-based media expert sheds light on the situation, explaining that the widespread surveillance conducted by the Chinese Communist regime monitors the public in the name of maintaining social stability. But when it comes to private spy camera use, little is done to crack down on these violations.
Taiwan is buying Lithuanian rum that Beijing rejected amid trade tensions. That's more than 20,000 bottles. The story began last year when Taiwan opened a de facto embassy in Lithuania. Communist China claims self-rule Taiwan as part of its territory and prevents other countries from building diplomatic ties with the island. Although Lithuania and Taiwan do not have official diplomatic ties, opening the new office means deeper ties between the two. Then, in early December, Chinese customs removed Lithuania from the list of countries in its system. The European Union stepped up and accused Beijing of blocking Lithuanian exports. Beijing denied the accusation and later put Lithuania back on the list. But Lithuanian exports to China still cannot get cleared. In December, Taiwan learned that over 20,000 bottles of Lithuanian rum were drifting at sea and blocked from China. Taiwan's state-owned Tobacco and Liquor Corporation soon connected with the seller and bought up all the liquor. The rum is scheduled to hit the Taiwanese market by the end of January. On Monday, the U.S. and 8 European countries showed support for Lithuania against Beijing's economic coercion. The 8 European countries were all part of the communist bloc. Together with Lithuania, they built a political alliance a couple of years ago in reaction to Russian aggression.